We have learned a lot throughout this course about Xamarin Forms. And now, before moving forward into creating Xamarin native applications, I wanted to add a new section about how you can upload images to the cloud. We have already been working with Microsoft Azure, and we have seen how we can have a SQL database stored in the cloud in Microsoft Azure and access it directly through our application. And what I want to teach you in this section is simply how to upload images to the cloud and get a URL, their physical location in the cloud, so you can later work with this URL. So here is the scenario. You are building a new application, something similar to Instagram. And so far, you already know how to store data about users inside of the SQL database. You may already know how to add to another table data about posts. You may be able to know or have a column in this new table about the user who inserted this new picture. And another table with the ID of course, this image or this post. And another table with the date when this was posted, etc. You don't particularly know how to upload this image, and this is exactly what we're going to cover in this section. So what I'm going to do is create a brand new project inside of Visual Studio. And in this new project, all we're going to do is simply create a new application that uploads images to the cloud and retrieves the URL. So for example, you can later use that URL to be saved in another column inside of your Azure SQL database. So we are of course going to be creating a new cross-platform application just like we've been doing so far. I am going to name this project Image Uploader, and it is still going to be a Xamarin Forms, and we're going to be using the .NET Standard or PCL, whatever option you have available. In my case, by the way, notice that I have recently installed the Windows tools, so I could select Windows in here. I am just going to keep selecting Android and iOS. And I'm going to click on OK, and these two projects, along with the .NET Standard project, are going to be created and added to my solution, just like we've been doing so far. Now, once the projects are created, there is one first step that we need to perform for us to be able to create this entire application. And of course, the first thing that we need to be able to do is get an image, either by taking a picture or selecting one that already exists. For any of these scenarios, we will need a plugin that already exists that is called Cross Media, which will allow us to interact both on Android and iOS with either the camera or the photo gallery to be able to either take or select a picture. So instead of having to go to both Android and iOS and create our own interfaces or our own classes that in each project access the native functionality and expose it to the shared library, in this case, using this plugin, we will be able to do that. So I will be right-clicking on my solution and selecting Manage NuGet Packages for Solution. And I'm going to go to the Browse tab and search for xem.plugin.media. This is the plugin that we need. Make sure that you select the package that is by James Montemagno and select all of your projects to install the latest stable version on all three of them. Of course, as usual, you will see the window that tells you what packages are going to be added to each project. And once these packages have been added, you will see this new window appear with a TXT file. You don't need to read that. You can close all of that. And the first thing that you will need to do, of course, is create the main page. Now, with this new plugin, you are now completely ready to start reading or taking pictures. But of course, the first thing that we need is some sort of user interface to allow the user to select a picture. So here's what we're going to do. Instead of the content page, of course, for the main page, I am going to be defining a new stack layout. And instead of this stack layout, we're going to have two things. One is going to be a button. the button that is going to display to the user, select a picture. Now in this case, you can change this to take a picture, for example. I am just going to create an example where you select a picture from the library. The steps are going to be pretty similar. Basically, the only thing that will change is a method that we will call from the media plugin. Now, after this button, I am going to be defining an image that will eventually display the image that was selected or taken, if that is the case. Now, for this one, we are going to be needing the name because eventually we will access it to set the image. This is simply going to be called selected image. And that's it. This is pretty much everything that we need. I am going to be adding a clicked event handler for this button. Now you could choose to implement a command already. This is not the purpose for this section. I just want you to understand how you upload images to the cloud. But if you want to keep practicing using commands, go ahead and create a command for this button. In this case, I'm simply going to be using an event handler, and this is going to be called select image button underscore clicked. Now I will have to select this. Notice that I didn't get, in this case, help from Visual Studio to create this automatically. It's okay. All I have to do is open my main page.xaml.cs file and create a new void select image button underscore clicked method that is going to be getting an object that is going to be the sender, in this case the button, and it's going to be getting an event args or some arguments that I will just call E. And that's it. That's everything that we need for our event handler. Now it is in here where we need to get that image. And the steps to doing this are quite simple. Once that we have this cross-media plugin, it is going to be very straightforward, but we do need to make certain evaluations to make sure that our application isn't going to crash. Now, the first thing that we have to do in here is initialize the cross-media. This is going to allow all of the applications, in this case both Android and iOS, to initialize themselves so we can access native functionality. If we had a Windows project as well, it will happen in the same way, with the same method. So what we have to do here then is call from cross-media, which is a new class that we have available through the plugin media namespace. So we need to add a using directive to that namespace and access the current property, which has the initialize method. Now the initialize method is an async method, so we will have to await it so we know that we are only moving forward when this method has been completed. Of course, we will need to make this event handler an async method. Right after this, we have to make that first evaluation to make sure that our application is not going to crash on our users. And the first evaluation that we should make is whether or not the device, the current device, is able to pick pictures or take pictures if that is what you want to do. So what I'm going to do is evaluate negatively if from cross-media and current, which is the property that we're pretty much always going to be using, evaluate if is pick photo supported. Notice that we have many options in here, so here is where you will want to select the one that corresponds to your application. For example, if is camera available and is take photo supported are two options that you should evaluate if you want to take pictures. Or you could also pick videos or take videos if that is what you want to do. Right now, since I am going to be picking pictures, all I want to select is pick photo supported. So if this is negative, if this is not supported, it will return false. And since we are going to be turning that into the opposite, this is going to be true. So in here, we want to do some things in case this is not supported. All I'm going to do here is display an alert with a message that this is not supported.